Hello everyone, so we thought we would have a chat today about the Renters' Rights Bill for a change. Now, I know we've not really spoken about this yet, but in reality it's something that's come up in conversation quite a lot lately as it's making its way through Parliament and making its way to Royal Assent. But we've had quite a few questions recently off some of our landlords who use our services, some landlords perhaps who don't use our services, and there seems to be a lot of perhaps misconceptions, would you say, Nick?
Yeah, I think so.
So we thought we'd just record a video and a podcast, if you're listening to this on podcast form, basically debunking the myths, really. So I've got a list in front of me because what we've been doing over the last few weeks, we've been making a note of all the queries that we've been getting, perhaps where people have had misinformation, where they've read something online that perhaps isn't quite right. And then we thought we'd answer the questions here for you today. So number one is the Renters' Rights Bill means that landlords can never evict tenants again. So what do you think of that?
So that's not true. Landlords will still be able to evict tenants. It's just they will have to go through the proper channels to get possession of the property again. So you'd have to give a specific reason as to why you want the property back and serve a notice which details that ground that you're trying to evict on.
Yeah, because I kind of think like we've become accustomed to this no blame notice and perhaps I've heard of people refer to it as the no blush notice because like I think sort of going back many years and you know if perhaps a tenant isn't quite up to date with rent or they're not the perfect tenant, let's say.
Yeah.
And if a landlord wants possession, rather than going down the formal route of actually, you know, going for a specific ground, they just go, do you know what? We'll just serve a Section 21 because we don't want to embarrass ourselves. We don't want to embarrass the tenant, so they'll just go down that route. But I think now people will actually have to, you know, go down the formal route and actually give a reason. But
yeah, I think with Section 21s as well, it was always, you don't have to give a reason as to why you want to get your property back, but also it was pretty much a guaranteed route to possession. So as long as all of your compliance is in order and you have everything, all of the paperwork ready when you go to a court hearing or if it's done behind closed doors, you will definitely get possession on a Section 21. So it was always the easiest route to get the property back.
Yeah.
But so often they call it a no blame notice, but we all know that there's always a reason behind why somebody has served a notice. So yeah, that's why really.
I think as well, I mean, something I don't think has been talked about enough is the perhaps homelessness issue that we're going to have going forward, because obviously a lot of people who have been served notice of a landlord will want to apply for housing, and if they've had a formal notice under Section 8 that says they haven't paid the rent for so many months, the local authorities aren't going to look very favourably on that.
Yeah, potentially that could cause a problem for local authorities and for the tenants who are looking to be housed. We'll have to see how that pans out, I suppose.
Yeah. So another question we've had, or a statement perhaps that isn't quite sort of true, is that periodic tenancies means that tenants can just leave without any notice.
No.
No, that's not the case, is it?
No, not at all. So tenants will still have to give notice to vacate. I think it's going to be 1 or 2 months notice. We're not too sure yet. And there may be a minimum time where when they first moved in, they might not be able to give notice within the first,
the first 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months.
So it will still,
You'll still have to give notice, basically.
That's it. They can't just move in and walk out the next day.
Although I know that a lot of people perhaps are worried that perhaps people can move in, serve notice and move out, let's say 3 or 4 months later, where I think for the areas that we cover, which is Chester and North East Wales, obviously this bill is only coming in England, so let's just look at Chester. I kind of don't see any major issue with that, whereas perhaps if you were on, you know, the south coast, let's say Cornwall, even big holiday destination, there might be the odd person who moves in for the summer, takes their family to Cornwall for the summer holidays and pays, you know, £1,000 a month for a property, where if you were renting that as an Airbnb, it might be £4,000 a month, let's say.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen where we're based. And also, On average, a tenancy length is probably about 2 to 3 years. Tenants are staying in properties longer now, so
Yeah.
it's not something that we're worried about really.
There's a lot of tenants who come to us who their main reason for moving is that their long-term tenancy is coming to an end because their landlord's selling.
Yeah.
And they want security, they want
That's
long-term tenancy. So I really don't think that's good. There will be the odd person perhaps that does, try to, to take advantage of the system, but I've been very, very slim chance, I think. So I really don't think that's something landlords need to worry about.
I also think that a lot of tenants aren't going to know about that aspect of the Renters' Rights Bill, because you have tenants now that are asking for fixed term renewals when their tenancy is coming up, and landlords aren't particularly wanting to renew the tenancies on fixed terms because probably in 12 months' time fixed terms aren't going to be here. Yeah. And we're explaining that to tenants, and a lot of them aren't aware of that part of the bill. So no, fair enough.
So another one that I've got written down is that rent control will cap what landlords can actually charge forever.
Rent control isn't part of the Renters' Rights Bill.
No. So
I think I don't know where that myth's come from, but
yeah. So that came in on Facebook. Now this must be from when one of the original. But when the original press came out, they were talking about rent capping and rent control.
Push for it, but it didn't get passed through.
But that, just to be clear, that rent controls, rent capping isn't happening. It's not going to happen. I think on that there's a lot of. I think they've tried it in Scotland. They've now eased that, haven't they?
Yeah.
But what rent capping in Scotland did was basically made rents go up because you
had a negative.
Yeah, because so for anyone watching this, the reason for that is because landlords were restricted to how much they could put the rent up during the tenancy. So every time a property became empty, landlords were hiking the rent up as much as possible, and therefore rental inflation actually went up more in Scotland than it did in the whole of the UK. So that just shows that rent capping doesn't work, and that's why it's not going to be part of the Renters' Rights Bill, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think
It's important to note that one part of the Renters' Rights Bill to do with rental, not caps, but if a property is marketed at a certain price, landlords won't be able to accept anything over and above the marketed price. Right. So they won't be able to accept offers. Obviously, if someone comes with an offer below asking price, then the landlord can accept that. But 9 times out of 10, that's not what happens. It goes for the figure it's on for. So sometimes tenants will bid higher than the rental price to try and, if there's a lot of interest, to try and kind of push their interest up the list. So it may push rents up a little bit if landlords are thinking, well, I'm going to test it at the highest figure I can to get that.
How many
price.
As a sort of feeling, how many times out of 10 does that tend to happen? Is it sort of 1 in 10?
Yeah, I would say it's not very often,
tenancy,
but it's not every tenancy, but yeah, probably like 1 in 10.
But it might, like you say, it might cause a landlord to be like, well, it's worth 800, but we're going to get a load of interest for this. Let's put it on 9.
If they've had a situation in the past, perhaps when they've marketed a property and they've had a tenant who's offered over and above, then they might think, oh well, that can't happen now, so I'll try it a bit higher.
Yeah. So what we're saying is that actual that part of the Renters' Rights Bill, that proposal might actually cause rents to increase
a little bit,
possibly.
Maybe.
Who knows? So yeah, it's the whole thing of I don't
think government thought about that when they put that in the bill, because
you almost what I think with a lot of legislation, not just the Renters' Rights Bill, you're almost true. Like they're putting out one fire, but then that's causing a bigger fire elsewhere. Perhaps if you use that analogy. Yeah. But that's why it goes through all these consultations. But that just seems to have been ignored, I think.
Yeah.
But there we go. The next one is the PRS database is just a money-making scheme, right? That's interesting because obviously we've got a database for Wales already, haven't we?
So
we are used to this.
Wales in Wales, yeah. Landlords for Rent Smart Wales, landlords do have to pay a small fee, which just kind of covers the cost of running the database, I assume. And then if you manage, you obviously have to have a license, but I don't think that's coming in England.
No.
So the cost will probably be minimal. It will just an admin fee to cover the cost of running the website and the database of all the landlords. But the idea behind it is to wheedle out the rogue landlords, because
so if you're a good landlord, then you shouldn't need to worry about that anyway. If you're a rogue landlord, let's call them rogue landlords, then that's terrifying, isn't it? Because that's another thing that's going to hold you to account. And I think as well, certainly in Rent Smart Wales, I know it's different there. You've got to have a license, whereas you don't have to have a license in England under this scheme yet. Who knows? But it's almost like if you've got a central list register of all the landlords in England, then obviously any change in legislation, then the government have got an easy way of getting that information
to let
out.
them all know.
Because there's so many landlords who are self-managed. I mean, most landlords are self-managed. Isn't it a fact on the government white paper that 82% of landlords are self-managed? In the industry, it might feel different to that, but the stats are it's 82%. So
massive.
If there's a change in legislation, how are landlords aware of this? Because there's not a lot of landlords who will be attending seminars, webinars, perhaps doing online courses, upskilling themselves. And we speak to a lot of landlords regularly who, there are little changes to the legislation all the time. Like obviously we've had sanction checks which came in recently, haven't we?
Yeah, that was in May.
And there's quite a lot of self-managed landlords who perhaps don't even know what they are.
Well,
there's probably quite a lot of letting agents who don't even know what they are. I do think that the PRS register will be a good thing, mainly so that landlords are aware of their obligations, and I think as well.
Yeah, and it will just help tenants as well, because I think landlords are going to have to put certain areas of compliance onto the database as well. So it just helps tenants then be able to make an informed choice about the property that they want to rent.
So there's going to be a landlord ombudsman as well, isn't there?
Yes.
As a part of that. Mm-hmm. So, because I think that's important, because obviously as letting agents and estate agents, we have to be a member of a professional, a redress scheme.
Yeah.
So if someone's got a complaint about our services, then there is someone that can hold us to account. So I kind of think like if you're providing housing for someone, that can only be a good thing, surely, for good landlords and for tenants.
Yeah,
if you've got a landlord who isn't.
It just means that tenants then have somewhere to go if they've got a problem that they can't sort out with the landlord, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, to be honest. So the next one I've got is I'll have to rent to anyone who applies, no choice at all, even if they've got pets. So the pets thing is interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So that basically you can't unreasonably say no to a pet if you've got a tenant in situ already.
Yeah.
That's how you interpret it?
Yeah, that's right. So if a tenant is moved in and then they ask for a pet, the landlord has to consider that request, and if they have a reasonable reason for saying no, such as it's an apartment, it's on the top floor, the superior landlord won't allow pets in the property, then that's a fair reason to say no to having a pet. If a landlord's got an allergy and they want to potentially move back into the property, that could be a valid reason.
It could be, yeah.
But with regards to discrimination or being able to move whoever you want into the property, being able to basically having to rent to anybody who comes through the door, that's not going to be the case. Landlords will still be able to have a choice of the tenant. They're just not able to discriminate on grounds of them being on benefits or having children or having pets. So you've just got to look at it as a fair overview of the applicants that you've got. Isn't it? Yeah, that's it.
I think as well that's worth mentioning about the pets, that they're talking about a pet deposit, aren't they, as well?
Yes.
Which
that came in last minute in the last lot of
changes
proposals. when it was read in the House of Lords. So we've not fully seen how that's going to play out, but
So I can't see. I'm sure it hasn't. To me, it hasn't been thought about properly yet, because so we've already got a deposit, and there's a cap on deposits in England, 5 weeks rent. So if we take a separate deposit, are they going to change the deposit legislation to incorporate that? Is it actually a deposit? Therefore, is there a cap on that?
Are you going to have to register it as a second deposit?
Is it? Yeah. That's a really good point. Does it have to be registered with a scheme like the DPS or TDS or My Deposits? That just seems like when that came out, because it was when we did our last webinar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We got all the slides, nailed basically, and then literally 12
ninth
hour,
hour.
the night before we went live, it's like, oh yeah, there's a load of changes. We're like, right, okay, quick, let's research all that. But there was a lot of there's a lot of mention about different changes, but no depth to it. So the pet one's like, oh, there might be a pet deposit. It's like, okay, what's the detail on that? Don't know yet.
I'll let you know when
so
they're
that's
back
going to
in
be
September.
interesting. Yeah, and obviously with this, there's obviously increases in penalties and the rent repayment orders are going up as well. But I think that, again, if you're a landlord that you've got your house in order, so to speak, you've got your compliance, tidy, you've got all your notes everywhere, because it's very important that landlords have, really their own CRM system to some extent. If you're a portfolio landlord, you've got 20 properties. If you haven't got some sort of CRM system with everything on there, all of your compliance, all of your inspection reports, all of your notes, then that's what you got to do, basically, isn't it? Because if you run into trouble and you don't have a copy of everything and what you've said to the tenants, or date and time stamp phone conversations you've had, then you can land yourself in real trouble, can't you?
Yeah, if there's ever a problem, you're going to have that evidence that you've either dealt with it already, or if the tenant says there is no evidence, then you're kind of snookered.
Just look at the other questions. I think that was it in terms of the questions we've had. The other thing, yes, we've covered rental bidding. Something just to touch on, the new grounds for possession. So I know we talked about the abolition of Section 21 before, but currently there are so many grounds under Section 8, and we are going to see an increased number on that, aren't we? So it's not a case of that we're going to take Section 21 away and you're just left with the current Section 8. How many grounds is it increasing by? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't, no. I know there's currently 17 grounds for possession. I think
sort of just over 20 sounds familiar.
I feel like it's probably about 20.
They are definitely going to increase it, aren't they?
Yeah.
The only other thing that we've had questions about is AWAB's law. So what is AWAB's law, and how does that affect me? I know that's about mould and damp and mildew, isn't it?
Yeah, so AWAB's law has come about due to the little boy that died in that's social housing because the property was riddled with condensation. So they've got plans to bring that in as part of the Renters' Rights Bill, so it will cover the private rented sector as well. So it will mean that landlords will have specific timetables to adhere to when tenants report issues with mould and condensation, so that things like this can be avoided, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right. No, well, thank you very much, Nicola. For anyone that's listening to this or watching this that isn't aware, we do run quarterly landlord webinars specifically for landlords like you who are listening or watching to this. And the next one that we're going to be doing is in October, the middle of October. So by all means, come and join us then. Again, I think with that webinar, we'll probably be either just about to implement Renters' Rights Bill or have just been implemented it. I don't know. So we might have to play around with the date of that one. But if there's any compliance questions that you've got at all, by all means, please attend one of our webinars. Please reach out to us on all of our social channels. And then we also have a landlord Facebook community. So we've got one called the Chester Landlord Facebook community. Come and join us. We're in there. So if you have any questions, you can pick our brains to your heart's content. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you. See you again.